Hi you guys, it's Sonia. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I am going to recommend though that you stop right there and you go back and find Ivan part 1 because this is the third video to a 4-part segment and you're going to be kind of lost because I'm not doing any backtracking. I'm literally going to start where I left off with part 2. And you're going to be, like I said, totally lost and confused. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe though, and go ahead and watch 1 and 2 and then come back to 3. If you're returning, then you know what what we're about to get into. So that being said, let's just jump right into it because like I told you before, it's just a lot of information and we still have a long way to go. I will admit the next 2 parts that you're going to hear are more emotional for me than part 1 or 2, which says a lot because a lot happened in part 1 or 2. But it's just because I was starting to go through those changes and it just was a very emotional time for me. You're gonna hear how I just really struggled with trying to find out a lot of stuff about myself. All right, so where I left off in part 2 was that I ended up at my parents' house and I ended up with a child protective services coming after me because they questioned my children and they found out a lot of stuff. So I ended up moving in with my mom and my stepfather. Now, the whole CPS case lasted almost a year. I think it was like 10 months. So I was home a majority of that. I want to say I was there maybe 8 months, maybe. I don't really remember. It was so long ago. Some things I'm very clear with remembering and some things I'm not. Time frames is definitely one of the things that I struggle with, but I try to get it right. So my son was just a few months old, maybe going into 4 or 5 months, and so CPS was coming and checking up on me. Now I did everything that they asked. I had never been in trouble before, not with the law, not with, I mean, nothing to that nature. So I was really scared. And so everything that they asked, I did. I took drug tests. I did NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous. I did AA, which is Alcoholics Anonymous. I did counseling. I did parenting classes. My kids did counseling. They checked up on me. They did home visits whenever they wanted to. So yeah, I mean, everything, it was really intense for me. I did struggle, with it, but I did everything that they were supposed to for my children. I went ahead and took the advice that everybody's been telling me throughout the years and put my shit to the side and buried it really deep and did what I needed to do because it was potentially I could have had my children taken away. So as hard as it was to go through and as much as it sucked, at the same time, CPS kind of saved me because I had thought back on it later on like, shit, what if they wouldn't have came into my life? Like, what if they had never happened? Would I have had the strength or, I don't know, would have I been able to walk away from the situation by myself? And I really truly don't know, but God works in mysterious ways. Things happen for a reason, and that's just the way I took it. I didn't take it like that at the time, but I did take it like that later on. So, like I said, I went through all of that stuff living with my parents. We're going to get into a segment later on about this, but this is not about this situation. But I just want to kind of give a little bit of clarity, a little bit of insight on my situation at home. As far as my stepfather goes, we had a very good relationship. Now, I was 26 or 27 at the time, and he had been in my life since I was 13. But me and my mother did not. We didn't have a good relationship. As much as she came to my rescue, which I am thankful for, as much as she did try to look out for me, she wasn't really looking out for me. She was looking out for my children, which is still fine. I totally get that, and I'm totally on board with that. But my relationship with my mother was extremely bad at the time. From the time I was a teenager to the time I was probably in my early 30s, a majority of that was toxic. Very physical, abusive, and mental and emotional abusive relationship. And she is not the whole reason, but she does play a factor in why I chose not to go home. It's kind of like, which toxic relationship do you choose? Do you choose an abusive, toxic, narcissistic boyfriend? Or do you choose the mother who is treating you almost the exact same way? Maybe to not the full extent of him, but I was still struggling living at home. You know, we would fight. And I never hit her out of all the years that we got into it, except for the one time. This is a time where I lived with her. It's the only time I ever struck her back. But up until that point, I had never hit her. I defended myself. But it just wasn't healthy, you guys. And it put me in a rough spot. And like I said, it'd been that way between me and her since I was 14 years old. And again, I will do a segment on her later on, but as of right now, this story is not about her and my relationship. I just had to touch base on it because while I was going through this stuff, I was having to deal with it while I lived with my mother, and it didn't make things easier. But I had no choice but to be there. Most of the time, my stepfather would step in the way and stop the altercations or stop the fighting. He couldn't stand it. And he tried to reason with both of us. He listened to both of us, which, again, that's why me and him got along so well. Now, we did have a fight while I was living there a few months in. And it was a big one. Like I said, it was the one time I hit her back. I don't really want to get into details of it, like I said, but it wasn't good. And I think I was just kind of fed up with everything. I was already going through a lot of shit. It's like the last thing I needed, right? Was somebody else hitting me, right? So we got into this really bad fight and I ended up getting kicked out. Not the first time. Now, as I told you before, I struggled with depression when I lived in Marshall. But it wasn't my rock bottom. This next part of my life is where I kind of hit rock bottom. I had nowhere to go. You know, not too many people will let somebody with 2 kids, with 3 kids actually, you know, sleep on their sofa. I ended up kind of staying in my car for a little while with my kids. Or sometimes I would just leave them with my mother while I slept in the car, or I couch surfed with friends. I finally had to just swallow my pride, and I called my 2 older daughters, their father's mother. Now, their father was not around, and he was in prison for something totally unrelated. But me and the mother got along, the grandmother, and so she knew that I had the children, and so she, you know, I asked her if I could just come and stay for a little while I saved my money and get an apartment, and she said sure. So I ended up over there. If I thought I was miserable before, I was so miserable then. I knew at the time that I wanted things to change. I just didn't know how to do it. I had so many things against me, so many things stacked against me. It's like, shit, can I have a time to breathe? I didn't have time to deal with my own emotions. I was so busy just trying to go to work and try to make money and trying to, get out on my own and, not having to rely on people. And, I didn't have any real family support who really understood. I had no friends at the time, no good friends anyway. All my friends were like drug addicts or drug dealers or, crazy girls. So I really didn't have anybody, honestly. So, and at the time, I kind of blamed myself that who kind of wants to help somebody out when they've gone through something, when, even though they didn't know the extent, I felt very judged. Like, oh, well, she put herself in that situation. And they were right. So I lived with the grandmother and I hated it. I had nothing to show for myself and I was going on 27. I had no place. I barely had a car. I had a job and I started to put all of my energy into work because I'm thinking like, I need to make more money. I need to get out. But also at the same time, all of my feelings and emotions that I had just been crushing deep, deep down, that I had been just smothering with just trying to be productive and just trying to go through the motions of life, I applied all of that at work. As a matter of fact, it is the beginning of how I work to this day. I don't take my personal life into work. I go to work and I focus. It's the only place I feel valued and validated and respected. They don't know what's going on behind closed doors. They don't know what I'm struggling with. They don't know anything about my personal life. I only give them small increments of it, but I don't want to be judged and I don't want to be looked upon like with disgust or nobody takes me serious. So I started to put all of my energy into doing well and I was getting recognized for the first time in my life. And it kind of made me value myself based on my career pretty much. It was the only time that I felt normal. But at the same time, I was struggling because going home at the end of the day, I still wasn't dealing with my own feelings. When my kids lay down at night, I'm suffering. And the depression and looking at my situation didn't do anything but make me feel bad. And I still had all those questions. Why? Why did God do this? Why did he allow this? Why did I get caught up with this person? Why couldn't I just leave the situation? Why? All these questions. After my CPS case was finally closed, I really didn't have a whole lot of contact with Ivan. We hardly talked. He didn't even see his son much. He didn't even help me with his son. And I was too busy wallowing in my own sorrow. I ended up going to a family member's house, and I'm not going to say who it is. But I ended up going to a family member's house, and I asked for some pills. She didn't know what the pills were for. I didn't explain to her what they were for. I bought them off her. Again, I don't really pill pop. But I wanted to die. I felt like my kids would be better off without me. I felt like a fuck up. I felt like my life was shit and I couldn't take it anymore. I let my kids go to sleep. I locked myself in the bathroom. There was a bathroom by the bedroom. I wrapped myself in this blanket and I laid in the bathtub. I bought a bottle of liquor and I downed like 10 bars. And then I passed out. I remember waking up to the sound of my kids playing. And I had this massive headache. And when I sat up, I had vomit all over me, all over the blanket, all over myself. And I was still throwing up. That's actually another thing that kind of woke me up, is I was still vomiting. So the toilet was kind of like right there, and I just like kind of reached over and started just vomiting as much as I could. And I could hear my kids, they heard me. So they came and were like knocking on the door, and it was locked. So they were like, "Mommy, mommy, like, are you okay? We thought you had left." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's okay. I'm gonna be okay. Just get away from the door. Like, I'll be out in just a second. Mommy's, taking a shower." And I just started crying. I was crying because I didn't die. And I was mad that I didn't die. I was mad because it meant that I was gonna have to continue to feel that way, to feel depressed and fucked up. And I thought, that's not fair. So I was upset. I was upset that I was gonna have to get up and face my problems. And I didn't want to. I never told anybody. My kids thought I was sick. I told them I was sick. The grandmother that I lived with didn't even know either. So I had to just continue every day feeling that way. And I hated it because I didn't want to feel that way. If I could change how I felt, I would have definitely tried, but I couldn't. There were days where I couldn't even get out of bed. I would just lay there and I couldn't even do anything for my children. I wasn't there too long. I think I was there maybe 3 months. But I know I wasn't there for too long. And I got an apartment close by. Now, my daughter's dad got out of prison around that time, and I decided to move close to him and his mom because, he had been away for a while and my daughters hadn't seen him. Me and him were cordial all these years up until he got out of prison. And I'm going to do a segment on him as well because I know there's a lot of misinformation out there about our relationship. So the father gets out, my daughter's father gets out of prison, and he helps me move and everything. It was my first apartment. I was 27 years old. It was my very first apartment all by myself. I was so happy. I was so proud and so excited. And even my baby daddy, the girl's dad, was telling me like, "Wow, I'm so proud of you. Like, you're doing it." And he kind of knew a little bit of some stuff that I had been through, but not a lot. He just knew that my relationship with my son's dad wasn't great. But so I was happy that he said he was proud of me. That meant a lot. He was the first person who ever said he was proud of me. So I get this little apartment in South Oak Cliff, you guys. Like, it's ghetto. It's not great, but it's not expensive. It's a 2-bedroom. It's what I could afford. It was close to, their dad and their grandmother, and they could help with like taking the kids to school and if I needed anything, So I felt like I made the right decision. So my time there was only for like a year. I didn't stay in the apartment long. I was only there for a year. But my time there really was when my transition started. I was working, I was living on my own, I was taking care of the kids. Things were not great or perfect, but I was doing it. For the first time, I was doing something. And I'll never forget, it was just one day out of the blue. I had took the kids swimming at the pool of the apartment. We had came home. They were taking showers and changing into clothes, and I was watching the basketball game. It was the year that the Mavericks won the championship. I'll never forget it because of that. But I remember I was watching they were in the playoffs, I think, and I was watching the game, and I was cooking burgers and fries for the kids because we were about to eat after being at the pool all day. And I just remember, because I was yelling at the TV and I was excited, but for the first time ever, it dawned on me that, wow, I'm happy. I'm like, I'm peaceful, I'm happy. It's a good day. And I never really knew what that was for a long time. It was the first time I ever felt like that in so long. I mean, years. So it kind of caught me off guard, and it made me feel really good. And all I could think of from that moment moving forward was, I want to keep that. I want that in my life. I want to be happy. I want my kids to be happy. But I want to be happy as well. And I knew that I had to keep going. I knew that if I made it this far, at this late stage in my life, I could do it. So I would go to work during the day, worked my ass off, go home, take care of the kids. And on the outside, I know that to my family and my friends, I looked like things were going good. The bad part is that I was still struggling. I wasn't dealing with my emotions. I was, again, burying them, but going through the motions of everything else. Just saying, it's gonna go away, it's gonna go away. I'm getting better, but I wasn't getting better. And how I know I wasn't getting better is because I could never sleep. I started to get insomnia really bad, and I couldn't sleep. And that led me to go back on drugs, to try to numb my feelings, to try to black everything out. I started drinking again, and I started doing drugs again, and I started getting in serious trouble at that time. It was around the first time I had my first arrest. No, I take that back. I had my first arrest when I lived with the grandmother. When I was at my low, that's when I had my first arrest. And it was because I had went out drinking, and I had pulled over after a night of partying, and I was found on the side of the road by some policemen, and I got arrested. That's a whole nother story. I might use that in a story time, because that's the first encounter that I ever had with a police officer, and it was not a good encounter. But anyway, I'll put a pin in that. But I started getting into trouble a lot after that with the law. I started not doing well. I started drinking a lot, driving home drunk. Never got a DWI up until that point, but I was still getting in trouble and getting off, luckily. And so I knew that I was not dealing with things, that I was still suffering emotionally and mentally, and I didn't know what to do with the energy. I was using it in the wrong way. And I didn't realize it, but I was self-conscious to. I take it back. I started to consciously know it. I started to become aware. At the same time, I also became extremely toxic. That's where my toxicity kind of started kicking in, like bad. Like I started to become angry and bitter. I was good at work and I was good with my kids. But everywhere else, my life was a fucking mess. I was putting my energy into negative shit. And I hated men. I hated men. I was so bitter towards men. I literally was like, fuck y'all. I went through like, I'm not gonna lie, I went through the biggest hoe stage of my life because I didn't care. I didn't care. I just wanted to use them and then wash my hands of them and then move on to the next. I didn't try to talk to anybody seriously. I probably, if I slept with you once, made you get your shit on and go home. I had no feelings towards men. I didn't trust anybody. I started to put my guard up. I started this whole men ain't shit mentality, which I still kind of have that mentality, I'm not gonna lie. But it started to really play a role on my trust with people. Mostly men, but with people in general. Like I felt like I couldn't trust anybody. I felt like everybody abandoned me and I was left to pick up the pieces myself. Because nobody was asking me if I was okay. Nobody came to me and said, hey, Sonia, I know you've been through some shit. Do you want to talk about it? No. And again, even if they probably would have, I think the gesture alone would have just spoken, aloud for itself. But I didn't want to talk about it. I started to hate myself. I started to hate myself. Like, why did I put up with him? Why did I do these? Why was I with him? Why did I tolerate it? What's wrong with me? And it was like a psychological just breakdown. And I was still lost, but I was trying to find my way. I was trying to claw my way out. I felt like I was in this hole in the ground and I'm screaming for somebody to come and help me, and I'm trying to claw my way out of this huge dirt hole, and it's so hard because when I feel like I'm taking a few steps forward, I'm falling right back. I'm fighting an uphill battle pretty much. But I was trying. I was. At least on the outside, when I saw other people, I was trying. But it was a false representation because I didn't want them to see what I felt. I then started to try to come around again. It started with, hey, I want to see him. And he didn't see him at all, hardly. He didn't help me with him. He didn't do anything. But me and Val had kind of started a friendship because I had her nephew and she loved her nephew. And she had a daughter very close in age with my son. I think her daughter was born in August and my son was born in December. So they only had a few months between them. And so she wanted her daughter to know, her cousin, and she wanted to be around her nephew. So I had a decent friendship with Val. And so I would let her come over and, whatever. And one day I think Ivan had seen me when he had dropped her off, or I had dropped her off at the house. I don't remember. I just remember he saw me. And then after that, he started, hey, I want to see Ivan. I want to see Ivan. I want to see the baby. I want to come over, blah, blah, blah. And so at first I agreed to meet him out in public, and then I started letting him come to the apartment. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought maybe he really just does want to see the baby. And I'm not a bitter baby mama. I don't do the whole bitter baby mama bullshit regardless of what people have to say out there in the world, because like I said, this my YouTube channel is going to clear up a lot of shit. But I didn't do the baby mama drama. I don't withhold my children for leverage. I don't do none of that. I let my children see it how it is. And so I wanted my baby to be around his father, even though he was shitty. I was trying to be cordial. But then that turned into him trying to mess with me. And at first, you know, I was like, no, 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 no. No, fuck no, get away from me. And then that kind of turned into, I don't know, he started saying, oh, you've changed. He started complimenting me. Again, it was like the narcissistic, toxic cycle was all over again. And I would call him out on it. Like, no, like, you're not going to pull this bullshit on me. Like, no, fuck that. Like, stop that. Because he would start the whole sweet, loving, bringing me flowers, flattering me. Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh my God, you've changed so much. Well, yeah, I changed. I started talking shit. I started standing up for myself. So if he wanted something, I'd be like, no, no, that's not how it's going to happen. So I started standing up for myself. I started to be more like in charge. Like, no, you're not going to tell me shit, blah, blah, blah. You know, that was my attitude. And I guess he liked that. And so he'd be like, oh, you know, I like the way you are. And I think, you know, you've changed so much. And you have your own place. And I'm so proud of you. And you're just so hot and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, whatever. But then after a while, it started to kind of get to me. Because even still then, you guys, he was my first love. And I still have feelings for him. I hated him, but I still loved him. I don't know what it's called. I can't remember. I said I was going to do some research on this part before I did this video. I will probably do it before my next video. But it's that syndrome that victims have when they've been around their abuser. And so they feel an attachment. They feel an attachment to their abuser. I can't remember what the name of it is, and I promise I will find out by the time I do my last video. But I feel like that's what I had, was I was attached to my abuser. Like, for some reason, I just was. And I could not get past it. It was like a mental, psychological hold this person had on me. And I tried to fight it. Around this time, I was fighting against it for the first time in my life. I'm thinking like, no, 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 like, this is not right. Like, I'm a good person. Like, you fucked me up. Like, this is not cool. But the more he just kept coming around, the more I just felt drawn back into that attachment. And I hated myself. I did. I hated myself because I'm telling myself, I'm asking myself, like, why, Sonia? Why? Why can't he just disappear and leave me the fuck alone so I can move on? I'm doing great. Well, I wasn't doing great, but on the outside, I was doing great. It didn't take long, and we were back together. He said he was going to church. He said he was changing. He said he wanted to be a better father. He wanted to be a better boyfriend, and he'd learned so much, and he'd missed me and the kids, and blah, 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 blah. And still, I think like the last time, it's what I wanted. I didn't feel like I had anybody else. I felt like I just had my children, but I wanted a man to love me. I think everybody wants somebody to love them on some level, and I just wanted him to love me. I ended up losing my apartment at the very end of my lease because I ended up losing my job. Not because of anything like crazy. They ended up getting bankrupt. They ended up getting sued over some fraudulent bullshit they were doing, and I got laid off. So I was fucked. And I had to move in with him and his mom again. I don't know if they started seeing each other again, but I did get wind that he was still fucking around because like I said, I kind of kept tabs on his phone. And so his phone was telling me that he was meeting girls. I was over it. I was over it. I think another one of the reasons why I got back with him is because mentally, psychologically, I had been beaten down to say it's my fault. It's me. Like, I'm the bad person. I deserve this. Whenever he would hit me or call me names, like I was this and this and that. So that kind of stuck with me. I needed, I guess you can say, like, closure. I know that sounds crazy to you guys, but I needed closure. I needed to know, was this really an Ivan issue or was this a me issue? Because it was driving me nuts. Like, is it me or is it him? Like, is it really me? Did I really deserve this? Did I really, did I really kind of get him to act this way? Or is this a him thing? So when I was with him this time, I told him, I'm like, I'm not going to stay with you if you're not going to really make a change. And I know that I'm a good person. I've seen what I can do without you. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to give 100%. And if I don't see that you are and I see you're still on bullshit, then that's it. Then I know it wasn't me. And I know that sounds so weird because I thought about this for so many years when people would ask, like, why, Sonia? Why did you go back to him? Like, what did you need out of it? And I couldn't explain it, but it is what I needed. When I saw that he was still doing the same bullshit, I was out. Women leave you mentally before they actually leave you physically. And I was so beaten down and so abused that my mental state was just shattered and really fucked up. But I saw that I could do better. I saw that I could get my shit together. If I really, really, really tried, I could get my shit together. But it's not going to be with him. So I waited until he left one day. And we weren't there for very long. We were there for just a few months. And I waited until he left one day. And I knew he was out with some girl on a date. And I honestly didn't even care. My feelings, my emotion, and my attachment had finally got broke. I packed up as much shit as I could into my car, including my groceries that I bought because I was petty. And I remember I showed up on my mom's doorstep again. And by this time, she lived in Duncanville. And I told her, I'm here. And I remember she said, for good? And I said, yes, for good. I had filed for child support and custody behind his back, and he didn't even know it. So I knew the papers were coming very soon. And so I told her, I already filed. So, yeah, it's for real this time. I unpacked my stuff, and I moved in with my mother again. He was pissed. He was beyond pissed. He was also quote unquote hurt, but he was pissed. He called me and he was calm. He was like, did you leave? And I was like, yeah. And he said, why? And I said, you know why. I don't need to have this discussion with you. Why? Just know I left, and this time I'm gone for good. I said you can see the baby whenever you want, and we can set up some arrangements, but until then, I'm gone, and don't call me again. Now, my mother had warned me that it wasn't a great idea for me to let him see the baby, but I didn't want to let on that he was getting served papers. Again, I'm still a very cordial baby mama, so I wanted my son to have his father. My son was almost 3 and he knew who his father was. He loved his father. And I didn't want to taint that picture of what he had of his father. If his father was good to him, that's all I cared about. He didn't have to be good to me. He just had to be good to him. And whatever comes out later will come out later. But I still cared. Like I said, I'm not a bitter baby mama. Oh, you fucked me over so you can't see your kid. I'm not that baby mama, and I never have been. So we made arrangements to where my mother would meet his mother. But my mother had warned me. She had said, I think it's a bad idea. I don't think he should see the baby until after the papers get served. That was my mistake, and that's the one piece of advice I probably should have taken her up on. And I didn't. He ended up getting served a fucking weekend when my son was in his care. Now, it was just a paper. It wasn't like an actual constable that came and served him, but it was just like him getting the letter in the mail saying, hey, child support and blah, blah, blah has been filed against you. And so he decided not to return my son. My mother had convinced me to let her beat me up and for us to call the police and go over there. And since we already kind of had like a domestic violence relationship case because the police had been called on us several times, just so you guys know. Like I said, there's so much to the story and so much that I'm leaving out because I just don't have enough time to go through so much detail. But police have been called on us before. And so people knew that we had a domestic violence relationship in the neighborhood. But that was years and years before when I was going through my whole, the first time around with them. The second time around with them, sorry. So she's like, hey, the police know that you've been abused. The neighborhood knows that you've been abused. So how about I beat you up? We go to the house and we call the police and say that he beat you up so that way they can arrest him and you can get the baby. Honestly, that was a great idea. So I let her kind of like punch me, slap me around, pinch me. Honestly, I think she enjoyed it. Got a little free licks in. And we ended up showing up at the house and calling the police and telling them that he beat me up so I can get my baby. The only reason why they didn't do it is because his sister was there, and his sister testified that it wasn't true and she was a witness, that she'd been there and that nothing like that had gone on. I had a whole story. I had a story that he called and said for me I could come pick up the baby, and so I went over there and he dragged me out of the house by my hair and beat me up. That was the story, and I'm sticking to it. But I did it for my baby. I didn't even get my baby, you guys. This motherfucker kept my baby for a month. And his mother had the audacity to call and tell me that I wasn't a good person, that she had hired a lawyer for him, and that they were going to take my baby. Now, this is crucial information because this is where shit got real. That depressed, mournful, woe is me, why is God doing this to me? All that shit I had been feeling for years and years and years, all of that energy got sucked in, and I turned into, what the fuck? You fucking with the wrong bitch. I turned into mama fucking bear like a motherfucker. I was straight like, you know what? I'm gonna take all the tricks and all the bullshit that you put me through, and I'm gonna put it to good use. I borrowed money from my sister, from my grandmother, for my mom and then sold some stuff to put my piece in, and we ended up getting a lawyer because lawyers are expensive. We ended up hiring one of my mom's divorce lawyers. I knew going in what he was going to say. I knew what he was going to do. I knew that he was going to bring up my past. I knew he was going to like say all this stuff. He was going to he was going to drag my name through the dirt, and that's exactly what the fuck he did. But I sat there and I listened to my lawyer, and she gave me advice on the record and advice off the record. That's a good lawyer. So I did some sneaky ass shit. And my mom was there with me the whole way. I didn't cry. I hurt because I missed my child, but I didn't cry. I knew that this is where strength was gonna come in. That I needed this strength. I needed to be strong and stop all this crying bullshit and get my shit together because my kid was on the line. The fact that I could probably lose my kid because I already had a CPS case that I went through, because I already had a drug addiction that I went through, because I already had an alcoholism, that I had already been arrested, all this shit. Even though his record was not any better than mine, I knew that I had to grit my teeth and really pull myself together. When I say I did some slick shit, I did some slick shit. I did shit like riding around with my mom in somebody else's car by the house to see if we could spot the baby, because until we got served papers, custody was up in the air still. So while he's getting his lawyer together and I'm getting my lawyer together, until we go to court, it's kind of up in the air until one of us gets served, actually served. So if I could just see my baby in public somewhere and just snatch him and take off, then he can't touch him until we go to court. I can then hide the baby from him until I go to court, because that's what he was doing to me. So when I say I did some sneaky shit, I did some sneaky shit. I was PI. I could have been a fucking PI. And I'm not gonna lie, this is the one time where me and my mom really bonded. So not only that, but my mom was telling me stuff. She had been through 3 divorces at the time, 3 divorces. And so she was telling me stuff that she had learned throughout the years. And so I was doing stuff. Like, I knew that we had to have witnesses to go to court. So I had 6 witnesses, you guys, 6. The more witnesses, the better. I knew he was trying to get witnesses on his side, but his family also had a record. My family is pretty squeaky clean, so they didn't really have much of a record. So I was very careful with who I handpicked to go to court with for me. On this side, everybody had a record. So I went to everybody individually. I recorded them secretly on my phone. They all were actually against him, saying that they felt like the baby should be with me, not with him. So I got all of that on record. And then I also threatened all of them that I was gonna pull up their bullshit. If you're gonna pull my fucking name through the mud, then I'm gonna pull your fucking name through the mud, because you're no better than me. So a lot of them got scared. They didn't go to court. So when we showed up to court, when we actually showed up to court, it was me and my 6 witnesses and him and his mother. That was it. His story was that I abandoned my baby from the time I had him, that I never saw my baby, and all this other shit. And he dragged my name through the mud about all the things I'd been through. And of course, we rebutted with, well, you have a record and we have a domestic violence case and you were abusive and don't you do drugs? And we both had to take a drug test. I will admit, this is when I finally cleaned up my act. I got clean. And it was hard. It was so hard. You want to talk about withdrawals? I went through withdrawals. It was hard. I almost went to rehab. The only reason why I didn't go to rehab is because rehab goes on your background, and because of the career that I was starting to build for myself, that was actually starting to take off for me, I didn't want them to see that. I thought it would hurt that. So I got clean on my own. And I'm proud of myself for that. I really am. That's one things in my life that I'm proud of. That I got clean all on my own. So we took drug tests and I passed and he failed. It was a long, brutal custody battle, but in the end, I ended up getting my baby. And from that moment on, I changed. I didn't just a little bit change, but a lot of it changed. I was going to church. I was praying. And I'm not here to push religion on anybody. I'm not here to say any of that stuff. But church is what helped me. So I'm going to stop right there because I'm already far in. We're at the very end, close to the end. I'm going to talk about how I finally got my shit together and how I found the answer to my why. And also what helped me change. Because my thought process shifted dramatically into a direction that I still apply to my life today. Who I transitioned into then is who you see today, is who I am today. I do thank you so much for listening to my story. I haven't ever spoken of this out loud. I've told people in my life a few things here and there, nothing too crazy, but talking about it and going back and reliving this stuff, it's been tough, I'm not gonna lie. But again, I'm doing it for a reason. But I appreciate all the love and support I'm getting. I really do. A lot of people have reached out to me recently. I've had y'all just flattered me. You guys just sending me messages and calling me. I'm not gonna lie, I would like for y'all to just finish the whole, part, but I do appreciate it. Again, I hope that a lot of people are seeing this for what it is, and I will have a ending speech about everything, about how I feel, in my last video. But thank you for kind of sticking this out with me. I know it's been crazy listening to all this stuff. It's been crazy, for a long time to know that I went through this. But I did. And I know I'm not the only person who has. So please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Also, don't forget the notification bell. I do post this on my Facebook for all my personal family and friends, for y'all to, just reminders that, hey, I have a video, so come check it out. But for those who don't know me on a personal level, I did link my Instagram. I did open that to the public, so you can definitely message me on there. You can definitely go and check out my page. I promote a lot of self-awareness, self-love, self-care. You will see pictures of me and my family. Again, I appreciate if you don't reach out to any of my children or anything like that on my personal life, but you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So if you hit the notification bell, then you will get notifications when I have my stories come out. This is just, one of those things that I'm talking about, one of the most important things. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys for the very last video.